Hello and welcome to today's UEFA Euro 2025 recap with Attacking Third, your favorite women's soccer show. I'm Sandra Herrera alongside Christine Cupo and Aaron West. And we want to thank you all for joining us here on Attacking Third. Whether you're joining us live on YouTube or just listening to us as a podcast, we're just happy that you're here because we're coming to you immediately following that Group C matchup between France and England. And what a game. So let us know what you're all thinking about it in the chat if you're with us. We're also going to discuss some of the biggest takeaways from yesterday's Group C matches as well as today's Wales and Netherlands match. We got to hop right into it. Christine, Aaron, how you doing today?
I feel great. I mean, now I'm alive. My blood pressure rose a little bit with that match, but
Yep,
you like it. You need the sting of the game,
yep,
that thrill, something. Make me feel alive.
I feel
I
that.
feel fantastic. It's a blessing to get a game like that this early in the tournament. Number two, shout out to my kids, Ari and Avi. They're downstairs watching this, and they're like, "Daddy, can you say hello to us? Can you say hello to us?" So Ari and Avi, hello.
I love it. What a great weekend. Like we're gonna be chilling. We're gonna have some good times. We're hopefully gonna get some sunshine after we do this recap. We'll see. Let's make sure we put this big game to rest because this was the one, right? This was that meat on the bones type of game that everyone had circled on their calendars as far as the match week one games for group play. France versus England, two big dogs in Group D, what everyone has pretty much dubbed the group of death. As soon as the draw took place, it's the reigning champions, the reigning Euro champions, going up against France, a team that has often had a narrative around them. They've had difficulty shaking. The fact that they get into these big, high stakes, major international tournaments, and yet they have so much talent but cannot find the breakthrough. They have not found themselves in a final in what feels like decades at this point. And this is how they have to start this tournament. They have to go up against the big dogs in the Lionesses. So I think maybe we just start with that because with two huge teams like this going up against each other, I'm going to go with you to this, Kupo, because this is maybe just sort of like a little bit of a generalization. Given the fact that we've had at this point, the week leading up to this game, a lot of matches at this point in the Euros that have given some of that like first game of the tournament energy. We've seen a ton of like 1-0 score lines, like kind of narrow stretches where there's maybe some disconnect, disjointedness, and we're almost like as the fans or as analysts or as casuals taking it in, like any second now this game's going to get crispy and get going. And it has felt like that for multiple games. So this one, I think it kind of finally showed us why we love this type of football. At what point was it in this game did you feel like, okay, this is going to be something special?
I feel like for me, and I marked it because my strategic and also sometimes psychotic notes, I had thrown down 29th minute for France, where I was like, I'm starting to feel like they're really starting to lean into this match. Possession was decent. It was more evenly matched in the first half. You saw them building up, really organized, short passes. The movement was really pretty, where I was like, don't you dare tease me. Uh, and then I was like, no, that shot that Basha managed to get across that just went a little bit over. And I was like, okay, they're going to cook. Like there was something that was very confident about them in their movements, more so, especially in the midfield. And I feel like knowing that they were keeping Kira Walsh quiet, a little bit of a lid on her too, that was kind of the spark moment for me where I said, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself because we know Serena Wiegmann's record with these kinds of matches, and we know how England managed to turn the screw. But, ellipses. And then they just started to cook from there. And I was like, I feel really good. It wasn't until probably the second half where I started to feel a little bit like, all right, Laurent, qu'est-ce qui c'est? What are we
Yeah.
doing? I don't like these substitutions that you made so early on, just based on the XG and Cascarino and her talents that we know she's now had a standout season thus far with the Wave. Where swinging back in, I was a little bit more, a little bit worried, a little bit pericolo
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
The game does have, to your point, like it does have that moment where it wakes up and the scales tip a little bit because in just past 15 minutes into this game, England think they get on the board first in this game. And I mean with every fiber of their soccer emotion because Russo connects on goal and there's like all of the good vibes, the celebratory stuff, and then the thing happens. Everyone's lined up, rip roaring and ready to go. Both sides. You see England ready to go get another one. You see France waking up as well. And then VAR has a check in here and the goal comes off the board. Aaron, is this those moments where we're like VAR, man, it's tough. We're talking what was it, like an elbow essentially that is the difference maker on this call. Did you
Not sure if you
vanish, my
guys can
guy?
hear or see me. It's going a little slow. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
Aaron,
There
I
we go.
finished.
there you are. Oh, I wanted to hear Aaron's thought on that, but I guess I'm just gonna go to you with
We'll
that,
get him
Cupo.
back in.
What did you
So
feel about the elbow
we were
offside?
popping off in the group chat about this VAR
Yeah,
call. One, for whatever reason, this tournament, I feel like we seem to be getting these kind of late calls. Like you could have called that sooner. I think it was by like a boot. You could see like, hey, you're off. Like you're off. There's a problem here. And it seemed to run on where you're like, wait, they're calling that as a goal for England. And
yeah,
then finally they peeled it back. Just irritating runs of play like that where you're like, you saw it was off. Like we could see it. We clocked it early, said, hey, you know
yeah,
what? Like that's by a boot at least. And I
yeah,
get it. Sometimes it's trivial things like an eyelash where you're like, are you kidding? They're gonna throw that to VAR. But it was obvious, I think, one of those clear and obvious offsides calls that just needed to happen. Now, what happened to England? And I hate talking about mentality like this because I aggressively reject a lot of the dialogue around France being oh, they're good technically and they're good on paper, but they just don't have the mentality. I call bullshit on that. But I do think that when we saw England come out, it was paired with that and the fact that they had so many players just come back from injury. Georgia Stanway, you had
yeah,
LJ, you
yeah,
had Hemp, you had the number of players on that pitch that hadn't been in form or had just worked back to being in
yeah,
form coming into this tournament was already a little bit dangerous, in my opinion. And I think that unfortunately, the way that things played out, that mixed with the fact that they weren't the front runners right away, I think the disallowed goal shifted things a little bit. But I think it shifted things more for France because France said, ooh, we messed up, which they did, right? Because if that would have stood, it was bad for Pedro Mignon, that was terrible. Batting it out of the box like that into a bunch
yeah,
of active sharks.
yep,
Number one, just terrible goalkeeping. Nobody sitting there guarding Hemp on the far post. Just a number of things that were defensively poor. And I think that they woke up to that. And that was more advantageous for France to say, we need to get back in
yeah.
this. That was embarrassing.
I'm with you in that. Like, you don't ever want to harp too much on the whole mentality things because
Oh,
these are
woof.
ballers. They're
Yeah.
ballers and they're here to ball, man. Period. Right. But I I can't help. It was palpable, right? Like that energy, like that momentum shift from France, a little bit kind of coming out of what they thought was that kind of opening 15-minute concession. Like, and once it came off the board, it was like game on and impressive. Like we get France's first tally in this game, 20 roughly 20 minutes following that VAR decision. And of course it's none other than Marie Antoinette Katoto, who's like this ball, like just pristine ball played in from Cascarino, nails this, right? And it's like though it's like not only was the momentum shift and swing in France's favor, but breakthrough goals like that can feel demoralizing. It can
Yeah,
feel for a
especially on the
team.
back of that, right? Because that also gives them the confidence to say, we just learned from that massive error. Let's turn it back on them. Now, England's press also wasn't serving them. They were killing them in the midfield, and everything kept flipping. Where, I think they really had England unsettled to an extent that we haven't seen recently, to the point that we also saw Hannah Hampton with a couple of she seemed very uncertain in goal. And I feel like we hadn't seen that in with Chelsea, with the Chelsea squad, which gave us I say us, we're the royal we, we're all together now. You all agree with me. The confidence to say, like, yes, she can step
Mhm.
into the place of Mary Earps, not necessarily be her, but maybe it's time. Maybe you try to. Now, will England end up with egg on their face having made this kind of a decision this early on? I don't know, right? Like, this is so early in the tournament. I think it would be absolutely egregious to say like, oh, Hannah Hampton's terrible. You're coming into this tournament. You have to realize that this squad hasn't been tested to that extent
Yeah.
like this, but the heat is on and she's going to be under a microscope.
It's interesting that you bring that up. Not so much like the Hampton in goal kind of thing, but I think this is where we maybe highlight defenses a little bit. And that was maybe like the quote unquote weakness, right? Or opportunity for England, that France has often had that as part of their narrative as well. And like it's probably like even bigger spotlight because of all of the, Wendy Renard like erasure, right? Like people have feelings
Mhm.
about that. They're like, this is the way that you are going, this is the opportunity for, if you're the lionesses. But that ends up like that really doesn't come into play until like much later in this game, and of course we're going to get into that. But like even this little tiny window where France goes up 2 goals, we're talking about MKA getting that goal in the 36th minute, and just like mere minutes later, like Sandy Baltimore goes ahead and extends the lead for France. But it starts like on the defensive side of the ball for France, where you're just like, who is this national team? You're like,
Yeah.
who is this France, and like where have they been? Because we are loving them right now. So the fact that this like comes off of like a very good sort of intercepting tackle, and then they get the ball and they're just boom, like Sandy Baltimore's like, I got this, don't even worry about it. And yes, like to your point about Hampton, like this is not a good stretch of time, right, for
Yeah.
the keeper, but
I think
you got
it's
to give.
strange though, because I agree with you, Sandra, but we have to definitely look at players that are usually locks who are rock solid, like a Jess Carter, like a Lucy Bronze, who's a vet, getting caught out, getting drawn. I mean,
Not a good day.
not a good
Not
day
a
for
good
Jess
day.
Carter. I mean, she's gonna have she's gonna have to pull up and wait for NWSL flag in the next match day
Not a good
because
day.
she's doing them dirty. Like, and I wasn't expecting the performances that we got out of them. It just everything was very disjointed. I say yes. Euros match day one was full of not just this match in particular, but I feel like it's been full of these unforced errors that we're seeing out of squads,
Yeah.
whether expected or unexpected. That's now become sort of characteristic. I think that coming into match day two, we'll see some of those refinements come into play where that'll be less likely and not these silly errors that you don't typically see. But there's definitely something in the water so far.
That first half, maybe we can argue that first hour for France, it's like out they outplayed on the defense. Like they outplayed in attack. It's like they oddly
Mm.
outplayed in like the middle third. And like we gotta call it like we see it here, Cupo. Like they get out coached. Like Serena Wigman looked a bit shook, like during stretches of of this game.
You
Like
don't typically see Serena look quite so bothered, and we did see that. That was
multiple
absolutely
times.
transparent. And I don't know what was said at the half, but I imagine it was probably scathing in that dressing room.
I who knows? Like who knows if we'll get be privy to that? I have to imagine too. Like I also wondered, like, is what are we gonna see coming out of that half? Like coming, after they all had that check in with each other in the locker room. You're down 2 goals at this point. And Aaron, blink twice for me because I want to hear from you, brother. Um, I am curious. My curiosity coming out of the halftime is it to the point where do we have in England that is a little bit so shaken out of character that we see those immediate substitutions by Wigman? Or do we not, because you don't want to maybe give the impression that you're conceding or lost the game too soon? You're not trying to come off and give the impression of like waving a white flag too early in this one. For you, Aaron, if there were going to be any changes for England, who did you think it would have been at that halftime?
Yeah, I hate to say it, it probably would have been Jess Carter a little
Yeah.
bit earlier. I think they were really, really targeting that side of midfield. I think Cascarino was having way too much joy. That double flurry of goals from France really, really hurt England. The disallowed goal really, really hurt them. I think that it really those that double really you heard the I hate to say the goals change games, but it really it really turned the game around for them. And unfortunately, I don't think that they could come back into it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had those feelings kind of going into halftime. So when they came back in it, and we didn't see like those like immediate like at halftime sort of check-ins for England. I kind of got the feeling I was like, okay, maybe they all kind of checked in with each other. Maybe Serena like did like Wigman went ahead and did what she did. Maybe the players also went ahead and checked in with each other. They're like, let's make this a game of it. Let's steal this. Let's steal some of this momentum coming back into the second half. But that doesn't like again like that doesn't necessarily happen. We see some stretches of it. Like I felt like there were stretches with like Lauren Hemp kind of like trying her best. Like we definitely saw like the early stages of Kira Walsh, like, screw it, I'm gonna do it myself kind of energy. And maybe we thought something could happen there, but it doesn't happen until much later. And no actual changes for England come until that hour mark happens. Like maybe that's the concession. Maybe it's like, okay, you're the 11. You're gonna get the shot to turn this around. If it's not happening, we're making immediate changes, and that's what ends up happening. We get Beth Mead out of this one. Jess Carter's out of
Yeah.
this one. Lauren James is out of this one. It's a trio of subs at the hour mark. Toon is in. Kelly is. Liam Charles is in. Like these are very specific positional type of targeted kind of
Yeah.
substitutions for
I
England.
think I see TR's comment. Wonder if Charles could have slowed down Cascarino better than Carter. And I think
Yeah.
perhaps, but I think that by the time Neem was subbed on, they're kind of ready going through the muck of it, where none of them are really solid. And certainly her substitution later doesn't really get her locked in to sort of execute that way. Maybe we see changes coming into the next match day whereby we see Charles get a start. I don't know, but I think based on whatever's transpiring here plus what we're not seeing in training itself, which I feel like is
Yeah.
probably right now more telling than what we've actually seen against France. I think that Serena will be forced to make some adjustments. And again, that's not surprising coming from Serena. A lot of the criticism around her is that she tends to shuffle a little bit too much. So um
Yeah.
it's only up from here, Lioness fans,
Yeah,
I think,
that's the silver
because
lining.
that's the silver lining. That's all I have to offer you because quite
Yeah,
frankly, this isn't this isn't up to snuff to where I even considered how England would come
yeah.
in, even acknowledging the onslaught of returnees from injury.
It's crazy too because like we get hit with this trio of subs from from England, and then France responds in turn. And there was a part of me that was like, okay, maybe this is just like some like big game ownership energy for France. But there was also a part of me that was like, do you really want to like, do you want to take
For
out
me, it
the
like
photo?
my risk
Like,
appetite, given what we know of France, I think that one, I love that top line, but more
mhm,
importantly, I thought that that midfield was working really well together.
yeah,
I wasn't ready when Laurent Bonadei decided that he should pull Sandy Baltimore,
yeah,
Mac, and also Delphine Cascarino
yeah,
in essence in one fell swoop where you get Matteo, you get Diani, who I love Diani, and Malad. Like it's like, all right, well, I don't understand the logic of having done that, especially is shifting that whole line and the chemistry that was working so well. When they were moving up that right flank and sort of small short pass, short pass, short pass, switch around, short pass, like it was so good and their movement was so good off ball. And then they were able to get some of these connections off that you didn't expect. A little bit of sauce. You got a back heel pass. England
yeah,
again, kind of embarrassing in response to that. But I'm a little bit mad at him. I'm a little bit mad at him for making those
yeah,
substitutions because I feel like they killed the momentum. You saw the shift in just passing, for France and also in their momentum. You saw England able to turn back a little
Yeah,
bit. England had their share of possession again. England were again pressing a little bit more aggressively. Unfortunately, again, when you lose it in the midfield, that's a high risk, high reward game that you're playing. And France nearly got them back. And then they're playing like it's at the death in the last 10 minutes, which good for you, right? Like show
yeah,
some stamina, show that you've got some moxie,
yeah,
that you understand how poorly this has gone thus far for you. And you are England. You are
yeah.
the defending champions.
No,
That
I'm
had
with
me
you.
on edge. It was, but I appreciate them for it because that's why we love this game.
No, I'm with you. I I had some of the similar feelings, some of the similar vibes. I definitely was like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, don't do this. Don't get the match your energy kind of substitutions in here," because it was like right after England made their trio subs, right? And it's the window to do it if you want to do it, right? So there's that argument as well. But it didn't feel necessary for me at the time. If you're France, if you're in control of the game, if England is still searching for ways to get back at it, like why would you even shake it up that dramatically to even give them sniff of that chance? And I think that's what comes in like that 87th minute. Like there's still that building, there's still those attempts to try to get something out of this for England. And I think if we're like still talking about kind of the subs or players to come in and make changes and or make differences in games, I like the fact that we got to see some of the younger players a little bit for England go ahead and kind of build up, I guess over the course
Yeah, I mean,
of the
I want to
game. Like,
see like an Aggie Beaver Jones come out
yeah,
guns blazing. I want to see the youth step up because I
mhm,
feel like what we're seeing in some of these national team programs are these generational gaps where you
yeah,
have these elite players that you consider vital.
mhm,
And so you're unmoved by
yeah,
anything that happens until they absolutely are down to like a shred of cartilage and you no longer have options because you haven't cultivated it. I think that that's good. I just think that we saw that. And again, criticism with even the France squad, omitting Wendy Renard.
yeah,
And a lot of the issues that the current France squad have come largely from Corinne Diacre, who like literally reigned a terror over there. And I feel like they would have seen more success sooner had they changed this position. Now, the one plus with Laurent Bonadei is that he's very experienced with the youth squad, the academy, the young kids cultivating that. So I think that that seems to be the shift for France.
maybe,
And we'll see if it yields dividends, right? Like there's
yeah.
only time will tell.
I, I'm curious if for England, that one goal that they walked away with, you could. I really liked Grace Clinton. I thought that was a decent sub. I think got out there and
Like,
shown what she could
a
do.
standout youth performer for
Yeah,
NWSL, where you're bracing yourself for like what's next, what's to come. I just don't think, again, being subbed on in a game like this, where you're putting yourself in a really tough situation, because yes, you could be the impact stub, and then also your stock will rise infinitely, right? Like if you manage to turn a game like this around off the bench as a youth player.
yeah.
But if you don't, you end up mixed in with the broader conversation of like what's going on with this
Does
this is this game.
they walk away with getting one back and making the last 10 minutes of it interesting? And maybe that shell of a reminder, like, hey, we're the reigning title holders here. We're chasing something else. Is this is dropping the first 3 points of this group play? Does it make it? Yes, it obviously makes it harder for them. But does that take away something else for England? Does it mean doom and gloom in the way that maybe it could mean for other teams in other groups?
I don't think it means doom and gloom. And I know I heard some of the conversations around this squad coming into this is like, is this squad a blip? And it's like, well, no, because one, this isn't even the squad that they had in the
Yeah,
2022 Euros. So, no, this is a rebuilding. This is a reinvigoration. This is a testing of their metal truly coming back in. And statistically, it's very hard to win a competition like this back to back. The last time that this happened was in 2013 for Germany. Like if it were that easy, other powerhouse squads would have done it. So I think the conversations are a little bit outlandish. There's a lot of pressure. There's pressure on this England squad from the media, from fans, from themselves, from coaches. I think that that mounts. And like, yes, you either bend to the pressure or you become a diamond again. And so it's very early in the tournament. I feel like with the way that we know Serena coaches, I think that for this squad and the pressure they put upon themselves, this will literally be a real session. They'll be running
Yeah.
tape and they will be face in hands, frustrated, and I think they'll come out of it for the better.
We'll see. I think there's definitely going to be some tape, and they're going to review some things. There's two more games that they have opportunities to get points. I am very curious what will come out of those sessions and what kind of adjustments will be made. Will Wigman go ahead and stick with what she knows in her attacking front line and in her midfield? And will those shakeups come up on the defensive side of things? Will they come in goal? Because that was also a question mark for this team coming in. We'll see in match day 2 for them. We've got some other games that we want to get through. We've got Wales and Netherlands to talk about, and we're going to give everyone a quick refresh of what happened during Group C's games the day before. Stick with us right after a quick break. All right, we're back and we're here to discuss all things women Euros. We took a bit of a deep dive off of the game that just ended with France and England because let's be real, it was the game that delivered so much good stuff in the match day ones of all of the different groups here. But we have to maybe dip our toes back into Group C matches, and we have to chat a little bit about Wales and Netherlands, which also took place alongside England and France. Let's talk about maybe the other side of today's matches because they're kind of a little bit more fresh in our mind. Netherlands, maybe a statement of their own in this one, a 3-0 win. I think going up against Wales, just looking at things on papers, the lineup, seeing the teams that have been here before versus, squads who are, the debutantes, you're saying, okay, like this is surely going to be one for the Netherlands to go ahead and collect and then move forward. But it's not too easy for them. They have a really tough opening 45 minutes. Wales do what I think many of us expected them to do. They had an incredibly organized shape. They made things difficult for the Dutch, but that all changes because they have who they have. They have
Because
Viv.
Viv Miedema exists, okay? Like
I'm
we
like, you know what? I can't wait to get to this so we can hear.
age of Viv. No, um, you know, Viv has had a hard go the last few seasons coming back from injuries and other injuries. And it's brilliant to see her come back and score a centurion goal um and rally for Netherlands. I think that also it's kind of funny because the other goal scorer of the three is Vic Palova, who was an Arsenal player who also has recently come back from injury this season. I had the chance last summer to spend some time with them in DC and see her still going through her rehab, and to see her pull up and score a goal for our country is it's brilliant. It's a nice sign and marker of the times that like they're back, baby. I think this is kind of what we were hoping for a side like England with their returnees, but no, we got it out of Netherlands. I think my key takeaways from this game, not to be so Netherlands heavy, because of course, like they're stacked. They've always been. They have this prestige about them and poise, and they're a big tournament team. They've ridden it out. They've seen success. They've seen the
Yeah,
highs. They've come back. They've seen the lows. They've reinvigorated. I think that what Wales did is they stuck to tactics. They were organized defensively. They were brilliant. I think that they kept that fighting spirit. They didn't. You're losing 3-0. By all means, nobody would really blame you terribly if you were like, okay, this is futile. Like, we're just going to take it and run with it. They didn't, though. And Olivia
yeah,
Clark still made some really great saves for Wales. Anharad James Turner, who was the captain for this team for today, really had said, like we did as well as we could. Like, we weren't prepared for some of it, but then, they had a lot of defensive resilience. And
yeah,
like that's the best I think that you can hope for against a side like Netherlands, who have a ridiculous amount of firepower still.
yeah.
And
I think that's
like,
where they build off of. They're like, hey, maybe Rian Wilkinson rallies the group around the fact that they had a good 45 minutes showing. The 3 goal scoreline is not the one that they were anticipating
no,
conceding, but it's about that
it
next
could have been far
opportunity.
worse though, right? Not
Yeah,
to glass half full it, but like it could have been far worse than it would have been. And I think that that's a credit to Wales for sure.
Still a chance to make some history because they've got they've got England on the horizon,
Yeah.
they've got France on the horizon, and they'll definitely have their opportunities for sure. And I think for the Dutch, I mean, it's a great way to start off your very difficult group because they also have games coming up against England and France. They have a bit of opportunity in front of them as well. I think there's a couple of other teams here that are going to make things very difficult for an England side that are looking for their 3 points,
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like Jill Roord had two long range shots for the Netherlands that just happened to, I think, ping the woodwork
yeah,
instead of actually going in. Things could have been far more catastrophic. I think, yeah, I think that in terms of Wales, you have to remember contextually, they have never been in a big tournament
yep,
before, period. This is their first time doing this. Yeah, thank you, Jess. I'm riding with you today.
yep.
Um, they they executed to plan. They did what was asked of them. I think that this is something for them to build on and learn from. But by no means would I ever say this was a poor performance. I really am proud of Wales for what they managed to do. Um, and interested to see what they do in match day two. Like you can only build from here, right? This gives them experience. 4,000 traveling fans came out for Wales. Okay. Like that's how exciting this is. And this is one of the reasons it's so great to have these debutantes get into positions like this and shine. And I think that that's remarkable. This is what the game is. This is the world game. This is the beautiful game. This is what it was always meant to be.
Yeah, I'm very eager. If anything, it made me I mean, shocking to say this because I didn't feel this way in the first 45 minutes about Netherlands, but I do now that the game has concluded. It does make me excited to see their future performances against other what are considered favorites of this tournament, whether it's against England or whether now France. The Netherlands are such a tricky side. They're so pragmatic. Like how are they going to make other
And then
teams
the
look?
veteran side, like you look at
Exactly.
this and
They've
this
got
is
experience.
age versus young and scrappy in Wales. Like it's funny because the conversation that I was having coming into this tournament was largely, Christine, how does England stop Spain? Because that was going to be the presumed matchup of
Yeah.
like what would be this deciding
How do they
factor.
get out of the
And I
group
think that
now?
now what we're seeing is that the same things that I kind of had exposed, saying, listen, if England want to beat Spain, they need to shut down their midfield. They need to push them wide. What did France do to England today? They killed their midfield. They used the flanks wisely. So I feel like, as much as I'm always very high on France and hopeful that they get everything sorted, and maybe this is the Euros, they do it. I feel like their performance today against a weakened England side tells me that they have the capacity to execute on a game plan like that against tougher teams. And so watch out.
Yeah, for sure. As far as Group D, Netherlands, they own the top of the group right now with the 3 points and the 3 goal differential, followed by France with their 3 points over England today. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of Group D shakes out. As far as touching a little bit on Group C, now that we've kind of done and dusted Group D, some of the games that took place yesterday: Sweden against Denmark, another one of those narrow score lines that we've been seeing throughout these opening matches of the Euros, Christine, followed by Germany and Poland, which was a different game, different energy for
Yeah.
sure. I'm I know some of us here at Attacking Third have been pretty high on Germany, myself included, all of us included. It's
Do you
been
know why, Sandra? Because we're all so educated and watch so much football that we
it's
know
been
well enough
it's
that
been
Germany can
very
hurt you.
it's been very yeah, exactly. It's been very funny to sort of see some of the conversation around Germany as like underdogs, right? It's just like, okay, if they're like the underdogs, then they must be like the most
What are we?
favorite.
How are we defining underdog? Am I an
It's
underdog?
crazy to
I'm an
me.
underdog now.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And honestly, like it made me really excited because we got to see this Germany team compete a summer ago in a high stakes tournament like the Olympics, and how they could put things together and on quick turnarounds and how dominating they can be, and knowing that they look a little bit different going into these Euros. Like it's not, unfortunately, it's not new that Oberdorf is not with them. They were also without her for the Olympics, but they are without Pop. So it was like there was some of that. There was like, how are they going to look? Like, is Leah Schuler really going to pop off in the Euros? Like, we'll see. she did get a goal, so I'll take that for sure. But they looked so good in this game. I thought Clara Boule was like an incredible game. I
I
was
love
like, what
Clara
an
Boule, Schuler,
absolute
Boule
bowl.
brand. I feel
Great
like in
stuff.
Germany, again, another team that are very organized that will hurt you.
Yeah,
And yes, we had this conversation going into the Olympics. How will they sort of uh, manage without Pop, their
yeah.
captain? You know, how do they pivot? Whatever. They move on. We see that they have the capacity, maybe not their brightest moments, but we come into this, and I'm very high on Julia Gwinn. Love her, and of course, she goes out in the 40th minute, injured.
Yeah,
MCL. I'm heartbroken for her. I'm
yeah.
heartbroken for Germany. This is a massive hit. So this isn't just any of the Germany players getting injured. This is Gwyn. She does a lot of work for this German side, aside from being a stabilizing point, having the capacity to play right back, play in the midfield. She's also instrumental to unlocking some of those players that we just mentioned that are so lethal in that attack because she's so versatile. There unfortunately isn't a one-to-one replacement for Julia Gwyn. So when you look at holistically this squad now, that leaves a reliance we need to shoulder. Because now I'm speaking as if I run the German national team. It's fine.
Only in your
Um,
heart.
in my heart, apparently. I really want everybody to have a good time. No.
There you go.
But the midfield, they're gonna have to lean on New Skin and Loman to lock it down and be an anchor now because they don't have Gwyn to really do that. Then Linder at right back is gonna have to take on more than the lion's share of what would normally transpire. Janina Minga, as the vet, is gonna be she was already past the captain armband when Gwyn went off at the 40th minute. And then Catherine Hendrick, who you'll have shortly on your stars in NWSL, who's going to have to pick up the slack there from where I sit in
Yeah.
terms of being able to weather all what may come in terms of the more challenging teams in this tournament to make a deep run.
You know, you hate to try to pluck out any silver linings in something like this because Vin's a star and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is no silver lining about the fact that she will now be unavailable for Germany moving forward.
Yeah.
But maybe it comes into to your points, like you're saying, it's happened in match one. There's two other group matches here for Germany. You know, if it is about trying to rotate some things by committee to figure out what works by the time knockouts arrive, maybe that is supposedly that silver lining for Germany. I think the
Yeah.
response from that too, I think was very telling. It showed a lot, I think, for me in this German team and how they could just sort of continue to move on from something like that. That could be really gutting in a number of ways for a team. It
Yeah,
could
I mean,
really
Christian
shake them
Wook
up.
has his work cut out for him for sure. I think that not that it's great to have a key part of your squad get injured where they're done for the whole competition, but if it's going to happen, let it be match day one and be against essentially a debutante squad like a Poland, where you can kind of figure out where you need to swim before you really get locked in where you're just in a bad way. Now you had the debut of Bompser come in, who had the most hilarious and adorable story after Gwyn got subbed off that we found out that Christian Wook didn't have her number and called her mom to get her called up for the squad, which is hilarious and also very humanizing. But just to show how important it is that you are able to step up. And again, like when you're very green, joining a squad like Germany, who's seen infinite levels of success, that they're sort of in this turn right now. You've got a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, 100%. Group C, I think another one of those groups where it's just going to be interesting until it's kind of done and dusted. Germany and Sweden, 1 and 2 respectively out of there. Denmark and Poland, they've got some work to do. And we've got some more work to do because it's not just Euros that are popping off this summer. We've got a whole summer of soccer happening. And we're going to chat a little bit and highlight women's AFCON coming up after a quick break. All right, we're back and we're here to highlight women's AFCON. We're gonna go ahead and spotlight some NWSL participants because we did that ahead of the Euros as well. We're very proud that there is a bump in NWSL representation in the Euros this year. I think it was like 3 players the last time Euros kicked off, and now it's like quadruple. There's like I think what is it, 12 to 18? Can't really remember the number, but there's a good chunk of NWSL. But we've got a good chunk of NWSL players in women's AFCON as well, which kicked off today. Kicked off with Morocco taking on Zambia. This is the 15th edition of the tournament that debuted back in 1991. For folks who are a little bit unfamiliar with the tournament, Nigeria has been the overwhelmingly most successful team in this tournament, having won it a record 11 times. And the only other nations to win the tournament have been Equatoria Guinea, which was 2 times in 08 and 2012, and also most recently South Africa in 2022. This was one of the many tournaments affected by COVID back in 2020 and was ultimately canceled, but they're back up and running. And there's a lot of great teams who could really provide some really, really exciting football. Cameroon has come close. They've been runners up 4 times alongside Ghana within this tournament, who have finished second 3 times. And we're going to go ahead and highlight some NWSL players who are going to participate and who have already participated in AFCON because it kicked off a little bit this afternoon today. So some of the NWSL players that will participate in AFCON. There's a whopping 8 of them, and we are so thrilled that we've got this awesome graphic. If you're joining us on YouTube, you get to see it. That's one of the perks about joining us live. You get to see all this cool stuff up close and personal. 3 nations: Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia, rocking with the 8 players that you could see in AFCON. Nigeria with Asia Oswala, Misha Alozia. You could see them also repping their NWSL kits as well. You've got Oswala for the Bay. You've got Alozia for the Dash for move on to Ghana, which has 2 players being represented for them with Princess Marfo. And then we've got Stella Niamche, who's also with Gotham FC representing Ghana. And of course, Cupo, I'm gonna let you
Hey,
run away with
yeah,
this one.
I want to
Run
see
away.
Zambia cook so bad. First of all, we have Triska Chilufya, Barbara Banda, Rachel Rudy Kundananji, and Grace Chanda.
Go
I
off.
feel like,
Go
come
off.
on, ladies, let's go. Like, how can you go wrong? First of all, um, just watching Rachel Kundananji play, she's like always smiling, always sassy. And the fact that she ended up getting this nickname with Bay and me asking her to explain it because of course, like we were kind of like, wait, Rudy, but like she's like, I'm rude. I'm rude in training. So they call and I'm like,
I
who's
love it.
so we literally went and asked Albertine because we're like, Albertine, what's going on? She
What's going
said
on with the
she's
Rudy?
rude.
Yeah.
Rudy and she's called Rudy, and he said she's actually this one of the sweetest players and kindest. I don't know where she got that from. So I'm like in tears laughing doing this like coach's call. But the fact that she is like, I don't know, I feel like it's like in Espanol when you're like when you have like the fat cousin that you call like flaco or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
flaca,
yeah. The
it's like
opposites.
gordo, right? So I'm like, fine, Rudy, you got it. I'll call you whatever you want, girl. Go on, score
Whatever,
some goals.
whatever you
But
need to just like pop off.
like
Like
maybe that's her alter ego that gets out there and like is all nasty, like perches up on balls and is like, "Come get me." I don't
it's
know.
it's
We all have
it's
alter egos.
it's working because if you're joining us live right now, we're not going to spoil too much for you because the game is ongoing right now. So literally anything can happen. But Zambia is taking on Morocco at the moment, and of course, chef's kiss. We knew AFCON was going to go ahead and deliver because right now, with like stoppage time at the 90th minute, it is tied up 2-2. But we're giving some love to Rudy for Rachel Kundananji got on the scoreboard for Zambia, and Barbara Banda was the one to go ahead and open up that scoring for Zambia in the opening minute. But going up against a Morocco side that is, I think for some folks maybe kind of up and coming, and they had
I think
some
that's fair,
really,
Sandra. Like for more broadly audiences,
I
they're
mean,
more up and coming, scrappy. The
yeah,
plus is that their FA have actually started to take them seriously and have started to fund them like they have the men's side. There's a lot of
yes,
respect there that I think is great, right? What have we seen? We've seen quick investment, quick improvement, and I feel like this Morocco side could take off.
Watching what they did in the 23 World Cup, it's those moments where it's the hope that kills you, right? But you see them do. We watch them do what they did in 23, and you're just like, we hope they get some investment. We hope they get some belief, and it's the little things in between in the build up to those big kind of tournaments and big kind of moments where you're like, okay, this is where we kind of see some things come to life. And so far, again, not going to spoil anything, it looks like it's coming to life in this opening game of Group A between Zambia and Morocco, because the fact that they're playing to a wild 2-2 draw at this moment, who knows if it stays like that. We'll see moving forward, but I'm very, very excited to continue to keep an eye on this. I know in probably maybe a week to 10 days, we're likely going to do another check-in as well with Copa America Femenina, because they are also going to kick off very soon in July. So there's just so much stuff
All
um,
football, all the time.
happening at this time. And we always want to do our like due diligence to try to make sure that we are touching on certain things when they are popping up. It's almost like women's soccer is like always popping off. So it's like we're trying to find and make sure we have the appropriate time to talk about it. So that was our very, very brief combined NWSL intro to women's AFCON. So if you're looking for maybe a team to rally behind and you want to choose the one that has like the most NWSL representation around it, maybe you go for Zambia. If you want a juggernaut, if you want someone with history, maybe you find yourself, rooting on Nigeria, or if you want up and coming, maybe a program that has found themselves there but still looking for the breakthrough, then maybe you find yourself rallying around Ghana. Or there's a ton of other nations. Maybe you want to go ahead and pick out another nation to rock with. Maybe I'll go with Morocco. This tournament and see what they're doing. Let us know in the chat who you're going to be following in women's AFCON, who you want to see make a deep run and maybe come out on top with that cup. So let us know. Before we close out, Cupo, this was awesome. I love being able to work with you and chat all things women's footy. We actually had to find ourselves acknowledging a bit of tragedy at the beginning of our prior show, and we just want to continue to send our deepest condolences to Diego Jota and his family. His tragic passing away alongside his brother Andre Silva. It was completely something that affected the beginning of the show. It affected the beginning of the game against Spain and Portugal. Liverpool FC has announced that it's going to pay the remaining years of Diego Jota's contract to his family. And so very young family, and I'm sure they're going to need as much support as they can moving forward. And we just want to continue to give our deepest condolences, all of our thoughts and best wishes to the families and friends of the family moving forward. Deepest condolences from everyone here at Attacking Third. So we don't want to completely and on a Debbie Downer. I do want everyone
Like we're
to
gonna end
know,
with me full sobbing. It's
yeah,
fine. It's gonna be a
like
ritual now.
I just shout out to our producer Mark. Like he just wanted us to make sure that the people knew. They just wanted us to like make sure that they
Oh,
felt that
it's
emotion moving
it's so
forward.
heartbreaking because he used to go on record and say, like it's not the money. I like value all of my time, my friends, my family, or whatever. So it's a beautiful gesture for Liverpool to do that, but to know that obviously he'd trade that for anything is
Yeah,
just the whole story is heartbreaking. I
yeah.
I can't physically or emotionally wrap my brain around it.
100%. Me either. I think everyone's doing their best. We saw Spain and Portugal rocking the black armbands to start the game. I would not be surprised if Portugal's women's national team continues to pay
Yeah.
their tributes throughout the remainder of their women's Euros, and they've got two more games coming up themselves. So we'll for sure keep an eye on that. And you can all tap back in with Attacking Third, because we're going to be doing this throughout the duration of the women's Euros. We're going to hit you with the live reaction shows. In fact, we're going to be back on Monday, July 7th at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on YouTube. I'll be with Darian Jenkins and Jen Beatty, and we're going to go ahead and react to Spain versus Belgium match as soon as it wraps and go ahead and discuss all the rest of the notables from matches that take place over the course of Sunday and Monday. That's a wrap. Thank you all for joining us today. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe Attacking Third wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're available on YouTube at youtube.com/Attacking Third. And of course, you can catch us on the Great Golazo Network. Thanks for being here today, y'all.